I want to share with you some crown energy work that I've been doing this week. I teach the Chakra Yoga series kind of locally around town, and I was just completing a 7-week series on the chakra. So today I taught the Crown Chakra class, and I like to all week work on my own energy before I teach the class. So I was working in my Crown Chakra journal, and I said, well, let me just flip through and find a page that's kind of calling out to me. And this chapter, so section 4, if you guys have the journal and you want to do it along with me, section 4 is manifestation and miracles. I've got the link in the description box if you want to join me on this journey. But so I said, okay, manifestations and miracles. And I flipped through, and the very first prompt is the one that caught my eye. And it says, what does creating heaven on earth mean to me? And how am I manifesting it? And so I'll share with you guys my journal entry. But before I do, I wanted to just kind of let you know that this video is going to be talking about how to create heaven on earth, but in a different perspective. So like when I do energy work, I always turn inward and work on my own energy center so that the outside world is reflecting what's happening on the inside. So I know some manifesting teachers will say, like use the power of your manifestation and create the reality. And I manifested that car and I manifested that phone call, and all of that's very true. But personally, what I have found is that my manifesting was very sporadic. So it was like one time I could manifest this, and the next time I'm like trying to wish and hope on a star that it's like gonna come, and then it didn't come. And so I've decided that working on the energy, like isolating that energy and healing that energy and exploring that energy, makes it more powerful, so that when I do then go to manifest, I have healed energy, balanced, and I can move forward. So as I was meditating on this and journaling on this, I found that this week there were 6 different things that I noticed that my crown would activate, and then it would be like a little subtle message like, you need a little tweaking here, or you can improve here. There's a little bit more space you can create here. So that's what I'm going to share with you. So I'll share with you the 6 things I noticed as I was working on my crown chakra this week. And then of course, I'd love to hear your feedback. Connecting with you is the most meaningful thing to me, because like meeting the real people that find this healing and say, now I'm like looking at everything through the lens of chakras, and I'm like, yes, join me. So I'll start just by sharing my journal entry. So again, the journal prompt was, what does creating heaven on earth mean to me, and how am I manifesting it? My answer is, creating heaven on earth means that I get a chance to design my life, to customize my experience, to create my environment, to surround myself with people and things that bring me joy. I believe that God is the great creator and made things out of love of his heart and called the place heaven. Earth is the opportunity for humans to do the same. What an honor. Hallelujah. This life is mine, and I get to choose what happens and how it looks. Up until this point, I toggled between thinking I was the driver and thinking I was the passenger, taking control of the wheel in a rebellious way and justifying that my desire was a good excuse to grab the wheel. I really wanted it, so I took control. Now I see that I am the driver of a car I've been gifted by God. The wheel is mine to drive all the time. And God designs the roads with changing landscapes, and he is my GPS, providing me with the fastest and best way, helping me to avoid traffic, traps, and closures. This is the same for my life. So how am I doing at it? How am I doing at driving this wheel called life? I am manifesting to be more like God, to have a deeply romantic and safe marriage. I'm manifesting kids who love me and are prepared for the world. I am manifesting wealth, health, impact of wellness, and inner peace. I want to manifest more, faster, better, greater. And that was the end of my journal prompt. The night that I sat down and wrote this, I ended up feeling so good, like getting all of that out, getting my thoughts onto paper. And I truly felt the energy of my crown, like that purple white light. I did a manifestation after this to really just harness that energy, to sit up a little taller, to connect with God even more, and to notice how much more God I was able to fill my body with. So how did the rest of the week go? There were 6 things, so let's go through the first thing. The first thing I noticed after doing this initial chakra work was that it felt like a pendulum. So like often when you're working on one energy center and you like move in one direction, you're like, okay, I'm getting closer to a healed crown chakra. Oftentimes the pendulum will swing in the other way. And so I found that this week I had some worries, and I'm not like a super worry person. Like obviously I have things in my mind, but like I wasn't able to sleep. So there was a night when I stayed up late at night and I was just worrying. I was in my head. I was thinking about finances. I'm like, am I saving enough? Am I paying off enough debt? Is my strategy okay? Like, this is something that was very unusual for me. So I was just like, where is all this worrying coming from? Especially the fact that it's affecting my sleep. So I instantly noticed the crown to root connection. So when you reach the top of the crown, that energy shines straight up and the root shines straight down. All the rest shine forward and back. So that crown and root really make like this connection. So you'll notice that when you're doing root work, you're going to want to go up to the crown to like make that alignment. Like imagine like the drawstring, like, okay, this is how we're going to know that we're straight. And then when you're working on the crown, same thing, you'll find that it like circles back to the root. So the worrying was affecting my sleep. And so I feel like that was one of the impacts, that it like I had this like pendulum swing of like worry. And so I had to like kind of send myself back and be like, no, you're connected to God. You're grounded in Him and your relationship. And no matter what your faith is, it's just the idea that you're connected to a higher being, that you have a higher level of guidance. And so that was one thing I noticed, that my worrying increased. So I said, okay, all right, let me, use the other aspects of the crown, like wisdom, our ability to learn the lesson and apply it and not have to repeat the same thing over and over and over again. So I used my wisdom, I used my, ability to, have free will and say, no, I get to decide, and I'm doing okay. And if I need to make adjustments, I can. So I had to kind of release the worry. And then often when I'm trying to release the worry, I drop out of my head and go down into my body. So for me, I would just intentionally go down into the sacral and find some rest and some peace and some pleasure in the everyday. And then I was able to go back up to the crown a little bit taller, wiser, more divine, right? So that was one of the impacts that I noticed working on my crown this week. Okay, the second thing was I noticed that I was dropping my head. So, the crown, I noticed that I would like tilt my head and like bow my crown. This was so subtle, I almost didn't notice it. But I started this week when I would see someone on the street, whether I knew them or not, just the fact that I noticed them, I would tilt in like this little mini micro bow. It wasn't like a full on bow, but it was just like a tilt to acknowledge. Now I see men do this a lot. Men will like honor each other's presence and kind of give them the head nod. It's not so common with women, but I just felt intuitively the movement of just acknowledging like crown to crown energy, that the people that were walking past me also have their crown energy. And so it was like this queen to queen, queen to king. So I noticed that I was just more like aware of other people's crowns. So I noticed that I would like tilt my head and acknowledge their presence. And it felt good. It felt good to like give them that respect of like, I see you. But the dark side of this was that I noticed that I would bow my crown out of fear, like out of playing small and like sort of going into peasantry. So like again with that pendulum swing, it was like I would, tilt my head as a queen, and then other times I would notice I would tilt my head as like a peasant. And so I was trying to like find a pattern of like, why am I doing that? Like, what is going on? And I noticed that one of the reasons why I was doing it was racially. So, if I was in an all white area and, a white person would walk by, I found that I would tilt my head sort of like a don't make eye contact kind of thing. And that sent me right back to my root. And I'm like, I must not be done healing the trauma of being, a person of color in America. So for the most part, like I've done a lot of root chakra work. I feel very comfortable with all races, all ages. I find love and compassion in every culture. And after doing so much root work, I really truly find gems in every culture. But there was still a little piece of me that I think from the trauma of growing up, being the only minority in an all-white school, and just feeling like I was rejected, feeling like I, didn't belong, and like, oh, just play small and stay safe. There were moments like that when I was doing that this week, and I thought, what? Like, what? And so I'm so glad that I noticed it, because I'm like, I must have been doing this. Like I literally, this can't be the first time. It's just that because now I became aware of the crown, I started noticing when I tilted my head. And there were times like that, and it wasn't just racially, there were other moments of just intimidation or, whatever, but it wasn't real. That's the bottom line. These were thoughts in my head that I was projecting onto the people around me, and I was bowing my own crown. They weren't squashing my head. They weren't pushing my head down. I was doing that. They probably had some of them might have been walking past me and literally not even noticed who I am. So this goes back to the creating heaven on earth, right? I'm creating my own reality. It is my internal projections that made me bow this. So what's stopping me from keeping my crown on my head all day long? And really just acknowledging that like, hey, my inner world has got to feel like a queen in my inner world. Which brings me to the third thing that I noticed working on my crown this week was acting like a queen. At what points am I acting like a queen? And this isn't in the modern society, like I'm a baddie, I'm a queen, acknowledge me, and da-da-da-da. Okay, I was just getting a text from my mom, so I just want to check it out. Yeah, but like acting like a queen in just my everyday behavior. Like what would a queen do, right? How would they behave? And the difference between that, the queen energy and the peasant energy. And it's not in an insult way, but it's like there is a huge difference in their behavior. And this brought me right back to my crown, doing the crown to root work. And even as I was developing my yoga flow, my vinyasa flow for the class. So remember, this is all culminating to my yoga class that happened this morning. I found that I would do a lot of crown to root, even like a cat and cow, which is like a simple, flow that is pretty much in every single yoga class. It wasn't about just doing the cat and cow. It was about really waking up the spine and then imagining the crown reaching the root. So when you're doing cow pose and it's like gaze up, tailbone up, imagining that there's like that circle behind you that you're trying to touch your tailbone to your head and creating that circle on your back. And then when you're releasing into cat, doing the same thing, seeing if I can get my crown to my tailbone and really having that connection, because that's what's going to ground you into the moment. And a lot of the practicing the yoga daily this week and like really like making that connection, it helped me stand taller and like appreciate that everyone's on their different journey, and to see even in my own journey how the ways that I've acted like a peasant, which actually, let me go to the next one because I think these are kind of linked, so maybe it's 5 and not 6. But the never asking, so I made an intention with the crown energy work to never ask for attention, money, or time this week. I'm not saying ever, but just this week I said, let me not do that, because when you've got your queen or king energy, they are not they're not beggars. They're not begging. So like begging for someone's attention is not queen energy. Begging for time, whether I'm asking someone else, like begging for their time, or even asking like myself or the universe for more time, it's like, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. And then, so what did I say? Attention, money, or time. You might as well throw love in there too. So it's about this mentality of feeling like you're not worthy of it. So that's why I was saying the root work is like establishing your worthiness, but then you draw it all the way up to the crown and then you act like a queen. So like at this point, you know you're worthy. You know you deserve it. You know that you don't need to beg for money, time, attention, or love. That your existence makes you worthy enough. And now just enjoy it. Just wear the crown high. So I was very intentional this week not to really ask for that. And I noticed that I actually got way more time, attention, love, and money this week. My husband, I was just very, by his side, so just being the queen and really focusing on my queen energy, man, it like meta updated his king energy. And not pushing and begging like, I want quality time, give me a kiss, do you love me? Oh my God, I was the queen of that. I was like that before I met him. I remember as a child asking my mom like multiple times a day, do you love me? Say you love me. And my mom did it every time, and I remember she would just turn and she said, do you really not know that I love you? And I said, I just like hearing it, right? And then I got married and started doing the same thing to my spouse. So it was like, I think, asking for it was something that I wanted to hear. But then when I would get it and he would do it, it felt like, well, you're just saying that because I asked. But was I really giving him the space to say it naturally, to say it organically? And like, how am I behaving? Like, if I'm all frustrated and flustered running around this house, is he really going to turn to me and be like, I love you? Like, he might, to try to calm me down. But those moments happen in stillness. At least for us, I notice that mostly. So like when I'm in my queen energy and I'm not begging and I just know and I'm like in my own space, I'll just turn and notice he's looking at me. And that's when he'll say, I love you. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Almost sometimes I'm like, I didn't even realize you were here. But it's because the queen attracts, so harnessing that queen energy and not asking for that. Okay, so now let's move on to what I have as number 5. Working on the crown energy was just minimizing judgments. Really minimizing judgments, because I was finding that the judgments limited the action. So, if I was in my head judging myself or others or situations, that it would freeze me. Like I'd be in my head thinking about that, whatever, instead of like being in my body and taking action. So a lot of the crown work was actually sending the energy down, like allowing it to flow down. So I think that sometimes when we get ideas, when we have manifestations that we want to achieve, goal setting, a vision for the future, working our way down, right? Like it gets blocked at certain points, right? So like we get a divine message from God, it comes through the crown, and the goal is for it to go all the way to the root and like grow some legs, right? And like take action and do the thing. And so I'm like, okay, why is it stopping right here? Like, why is it in my head? Like the ideas in my head, the manifestations in my head, I'm not taking action, I'm judging the thing. That's when I realized, I'm like, it's the judgments. It's the judgments. The judgments are keeping it all right here in my mind, and it's blocking the flow of energy. And so it's like all this mental power, which is exhausting, by the way. So it's like not just, oh, I don't want to judge because I don't want to judge, I want other people to feel comfortable. It's for you too. Like, it's for me too. I'm like, I need to not judge so that it can just flow. I'm not stuck in my head and like burning myself out. So that was the other thing I really focused on this week, working on the crown, was just like, okay, if I'm not judging, it's more likely I'll be able to see the vision. I'll be more likely able to speak it and talk about it and be like, here's the ideas, reinforce the energy inside of me, drop it into my heart, give it love and compassion, set those boundaries. Okay, what framework am I giving it? Drop it down to the solar plexus and say, okay, it's time to do, it's time to take action. It's that self-power, I'm gonna get it done. Dropping down to the sacral, how can I make this more pleasurable? How can I make this more easy? And then dropping it down to the root and saying, how can I make this a part of my everyday life and routine? And so all of that started at the crown. So manifesting it into reality is going to start with crown work. And then the last thing that I noticed this week, number 6, was the difference between punishment versus natural consequences. So the crown chakra is leadership, right? And I have many leadership roles. I'm a leader in my business, my yoga business, with over a dozen yoga teachers on my staff. They're independent contractors, but I'm responsible for them. I'm the leader of the team. And so, I'm also a leader in my real estate investments, like as the landlord. I'm the leader in my home underneath my husband. I'm the leader of my children. And so there's all these leadership roles, and the crown chakra is the seat of wisdom and leadership. So I'm like, what kind of leader am I going to be? Am I the leader? And, this week I was just able to kind of review myself a little bit more and say, like, what kind of leadership am I exuding? And there were times of real frustration. I'm gonna be honest with you. There were times where, the subordinates or whatever category, the people I'm serving frustrated me. And I was like, why are you doing this? Or this was wrong, you need to be punished. And so I had to really reflect, like, what's my leadership style? Like, do I want to punish them? Am I like, you deserve this punishment? Is my leadership style natural consequences? Like, well, you did this, so this is the result. And just letting them sit and having enough love and compassion to let them sit in their natural consequences. So that was the other thing this week that I felt like my crown was a little uneasy, was like there were moments when I really wanted to punish and get really frustrated, like, you're not doing what I wanted you to do. And I had to go, what kind of leader is that? Like, what kind of crown energy am I giving and modeling? And then there were times when I was just like, okay, well, this is the natural consequence, and you just go ahead and sit with that. I find that the biggest challenge, just being totally transparent with where I am in my journey, When it comes to my yoga teacher team, it's very easy for me to lead because I feel like everyone there is also working on their inner journey, so they find it very easy to follow me, and I find it very easy to support them and to lead them in the direction that we're going. So that one usually is not the struggle. Usually the struggle is parenting, right? Because I'm so invested. Like, I'm just so invested, and so I'm like, what kind of parent do I want to be? I know they know I love them, and I know that they love me, but it was just a little bit more intentional about like, like where can I improve? So it just really, doing the crown work really just had me reflecting on my parenting style this week. So those were my 6 points of reflection working on the crown. I ended up teaching the Crown Chakra yoga class this morning. It went beautifully. I was even able to record a testimony at the end. I'll put that on my Instagram. His name is Harrison. This was his first time going through the chakra series ever. So it was a 7-week series. He went through each one. He came to every single class. And afterwards we would chat and he'd ask all these questions. And he's like, this is so interesting. And today, we chatted for a long time for the finale, and he was just like, I'm just seeing everything so differently now. Like, I'm really analyzing myself and noticing where the blockages are. And he's like, I had such tight shoulders, and I'm realizing like I had a heart chakra imbalance. And it was just amazing. I was like, it's so cool to hear someone love the chakras as much as me, and for it to be something that he's like, I'm definitely like going to continue with this. Like, my series workshop is over for this session, but he's like, no, I'm gonna continue. And maybe you're watching, Harrison, so thank you so much for the testimony. But yes, for everyone else, please do 2 things. 1, click the link in the description box, get your journal. This is the Throne of Wisdom Crown Chakra Journal, Spiritual Growth and Leadership. These reflection pages are like super helpful in helping you become more aware of how your energy is. And then the second thing is to like, comment, and share this video with others. The comment, I'd love to know about like how your crown energy is like right now. What are some of the things you're noticing? I love to collect this data as a point of research and just increasing in my expertise. So your feedback, as transparent as you're able to get, would be super helpful to me. So I love you. God bless. See you in the next one. Namaste.